working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. On tonight's headlines. Buckle up, Philippines. Our GDP soared 5.9% in the third quarter, putting us among Asia's economic powerhouses. Relief at the grocery aisle. President Marcos has extended lower import duties on rice, corn, and pork for another year, keeping a lid on prices. Words are colliding. Tensions simmer as the AFP fires back at China's accusations of troublemaking in the West Philippine Sea. We are upholding international law, according to Colonel Aguilar, pointing the finger at China's dangerous maneuvers. Thailand's cave is reopening. Remember the 2018 miracle in Tam Luang? The cave where 12 boys and their coach fought for survival is now welcoming visitors once again. Crystal Mapa will take us back to this unforgettable story of hope and bravery. Here's the top story. Our GDP skyrocketed 5.9% in the third quarter, making us one of Asia's best performing economies.
Notably, in the first three quarters of 2023, the Philippines demonstrated remarkable resilience amid all challenges, with the gross domestic product growth rate averaging at 5.5%, placing us among the best performing economies in Asia.
Now, what does this mean for you? Stronger wallets. The economy's growing, so your income has more room to grow too. More jobs, businesses are doing well, creating exciting new opportunities across various sectors.
Meanwhile, the most recent labor force statistics show continued improvement in labor market conditions, with the unemployment rate dropping to 4.2% in October 2023 from 4.5% in October 2022.
Better infrastructure. Governments pouring billions into building amazing highways, bridges, airports, and more.
Third, the NEDA board also confirmed the second phase of the Master Plan on High Standard Highways, or HSS, network development of the Department of Public Works and Highways. This aims to provide a higher quality, high standard highway network for faster, safer, more comfortable, more reliable, and environmentally friendly road transport, supporting the goals of rapid, inclusive, and sustained economic growth in the country. The master plan has identified 53 Class 1 projects that will be implemented in the short term, meaning to be completed by 2030, medium term, meaning to commence in 2030 and to be completed by 2035, and long term, meaning to commence in 2035 and completed in by 2045. These projects will support connectivity for economic growth and development, efficiency in reducing traffic congestion, environmental sustainability, and social acceptability.
President Marcos has signed an order keeping import duties on rice, corn, and pork lower for another year.
The board endorsed the proposed executive order to extend the reduced most favored nation, or FFN, tariff rates on selected commodities covered under Executive Order Number 10 Series of 2022, including pork, corn, and rice, until December 31, 2024.
Now, this means cheaper food. The goal is to keep prices stable amid El Nino worries, African swine fever, and global trade issues.
In the world market, prices continue to rise, no? Partly arising from the fact that the world is expecting El Nino that affect rice-producing countries, no? And in fact, the bans imposed by India continue to continue, and just to ensure that those higher prices will not be transmitted into our local markets, at least or temper the effects of those prices from the global market and our local markets. We need to keep those reduced tariffs. Otherwise, if you don't keep them, meaning the tariffs will now move from in the case of rice, from 35 to 50%. So, world prices are rising, pagkatapos dagdagan mo pa ng another increase in price, di mas lalong mag-spike yung prices paid by our consumers, no? So, we don't want that to happen.
Easing the inflation pressure, the government hopes this helps bring down rising costs of living.
The proposed extension of the reduced tariffs will help ensure an adequate supply of agricultural commodities and maintain stable and affordable prices, thereby better managing potential inflationary pressures.
And more food on the table, lower tariffs could boost the supply of these essential goods. The market diversification. Now this move allows the Philippines to import from more countries.
We'll also be able to encourage alternative supply to diversify the country's market sources and establish a forward-looking trade policy that will allow effective and timely response for possible supply and price shocks brought about by major challenges such as the worsening African swine fever, or ASF, anticipated impact of the El Nino phenomenon, and continuous increases in commodity prices in the world market.
Tensions in the West Philippine Sea are flaring again, with the armed forces of the Philippines and China trading accusations. Chinese state media accuse the Philippines of stirring up trouble and spreading misinformation.
First, China will not weaken in its resolve to protect its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests. For months, the Philippines has been making provocations on religion and other issues and drawing forces outside the region into those issues. China is compelled under those circumstances to take necessary measures to firmly respond to it. That said, China's door of dialogue remains open. We are ready to work with the Philippines to properly handle maritime issues through negotiation and consultation. We hope the Philippines will stop pursuing the wrong course at once.
The AFP is firing back, saying it's simply upholding international law and defending its sovereign rights.
Hindi po tayo nagsisimula ng gulo. Tayo po ay sumusunod sa international law at atin lang ini-implement ang ating domestic law. Ibig sabihin, hanggang saan ba talaga ang ating territorial waters, hanggang saan ba ang ating exclusive economic zone, na kung saan meron tayong tinatawag na sovereign rights at jurisdiction. At meron po tayong obligasyon na panatilihin na malinis ang kapaligiran at ligtas ang paglalayag ng anumang bansa sa lugar na yon. Ngayon po, dito po sa pag-implement natin ng mga activities na ito, sinusunod po natin ang batas. Hindi tayo nagsasagawa ng mga activities na makaglalagay sa panganib sa ibang mga maglalayag. Tulad po ng kanilang ginagawa, nagkakandak sila ng shadowing, nagkakandak sila ng mga dangerous maneuvers, gumagamit pa sila ng water cannon, at minsan nagresulta nga ito sa mga collision at sea. So lahat po ng mga violations, sila ang may kagagawan.
Aguilar emphasizes growing international support for the Philippines' position. He also clarified that alliances with other nations like the U.S. are meant to promote adherence to UNCLOS as the key to resolving maritime disputes peacefully.
Pag-alyansa natin sa ibang bansa, ito po ay dahil alam ng maraming bansa na tama ang ating pinaglalaban, at ito po ay para sa pagpapalakas ng isang international law na kung tawagin is United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, because this is the only way to peacefully resolve maritime disputes.
The war of words over the West Philippine Sea shows no signs of cooling down. While the Philippines insists on upholding its legal rights and garnering international support, China continues to assert its expansive claims, raising concerns about potential escalation. And we've received tragic news from Taiwan. 7 Filipino tourists were hurt in a car accident on Christmas Eve. And here is what we know so far. A van carrying 7 Filipino tourists and a Taiwanese driver lost control on Weiwan Mountain, a popular tourist destination. The vehicle crossed lanes, hit a guardrail, and plunged into a 30-meter ravine. All 8 passengers were injured, with 4 sustaining relatively serious injuries. Rescue efforts took over 4 hours due to the severity of the crash and trapped passengers. While not life-threatening, several passengers still have serious injuries, including head trauma and crushed limbs. Initial reports suggest icy road conditions caused by a cold spell may have contributed to the accident. The cause is still under investigation, with police waiting for the driver to recover for questioning. The Philippine government is currently in contact with authorities in Taiwan to confirm the details and offer support to the injured Filipinos. And we'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as they become available. And we're bringing you a somber update on the devastating storms that have ravaged Australia's east coast. At least 7 people have lost their lives, and the search for survivors continues amidst widespread damage and destruction. 7 people have been confirmed dead, including a girl swept away in floodwaters, a woman trapped in a storm drain, and victims of fallen trees and capsized boats.
But no, I didn't. I come out and I just seen it all mangled, and I'm going like, holy hell. Had no idea. I was too busy sorting that out. Yeah, but it's the way it is. All I could see, because I've got a big mango tree in the backyard, and all I could see was just going wild and everything. And my shade thing was just coming up and down, smacking against the house. It was definitely crazy. But I felt safe in that old house. I know that people look at it and think thing, but it was as safe as.
It was pretty intense. It really just rolled over the roof and came from one side and then the other, so it probably was a little mini cell that went through.
Yeah, it seemed to be coming from all different directions at one point in time, and it was fairly significant.
The desperate search continues for a woman swept away in Gympie and a missing crew member from the boat capsized near Brisbane. Flash floods, destructive winds, and hail have caused havoc, leaving thousands without power and homes damaged. Rescue teams are battling floodwaters and debris, while authorities are warning of further dangers in some coastal regions. The situation is particularly dire in Queensland. Gympie witnessed a terrifying storm surge, trapping 3 women in a storm drain. 1 tragically died, and the search for another continues. A boat capsized near Brisbane, throwing 11 people overboard. 2 drowned, 8 were rescued, and 1 remains missing. A 59-year-old woman was killed by a falling tree on the Gold Coast. Victoria also bears the brunt of the storm's fury. A woman was swept away by floodwaters in a Buchan campground, and a man was killed by a fallen tree branch in Carringal. The Australian government has issued urgent warnings. Coastal regions in Queensland remain at risk of dangerous storms, life-threatening floods, giant hail, and damaging winds.
The wind speed is up to Category 2 cyclone, so it's pretty serious.
There's still potentially going to be some quite strong, severe thunderstorm activity around southeast Queensland over the next day or so.
In tonight's other news, Israel's war with Palestinian militant group Hamas in the Gaza Strip will last for many more months. Israel's Army Chief Herzi Halevi said,
בשטח הבנוי והצפוף הזה, בו מחבלים לבושים כאזרחים, לא ניתן לומר כי הרגנו את כולם. כפי הנראה, עוד נפגוש לוחמים באזור הזה. אנחנו נמשיך לפגוע בהם ולרדוף אותם במגוון דרכים. כעת אנחנו מרכזים מאמץ בדרום הרצועה. למלחמה הזו מטרות הכרחיות ולא פשוטות להשגה. היא מתקיימת בשטח מורכב. לכן המלחמה תימשך עוד חודשים רבים, ואנחנו נפעל בשיטות שונות, כך שההישג יישמר לאורך זמן.
Now, the Israel-Hamas war saw regional tensions spike with explosions reported off the coast of Egypt and Yemen, deadly U.S. military action in Iraq, and strikes from Lebanon. The UN named an outgoing Dutch finance minister as its humanitarian coordinator for Gaza, following last week's watered-down Security Council resolution, which called for aid to be delivered to the coastal territory at scale. Sigrid Kaag's appointment comes as the people of Gaza face a dire humanitarian emergency, with aid slowed to a trickle by Israel's continued bombardment of the densely populated Strip. She will start work on January 8, according to the UN in a statement. Now, global pressure for a ceasefire has mounted, but Israel pressed on with its war on Hamas.
לא מפסיקים. כל מי שמדבר על להפסיק, אין. לא מפסיקים. מלחמה נמשכת עד הסוף. עד הסוף. עד שגומרים אותם. לא פחות מזה.
The army said it had struck more than 100 targets in 24 hours, including Hamas military sites, tunnel shafts, and other infrastructure in Jabalia, northern Gaza, and Khan Yunis in the south. 2 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli army raid on the Fanwa refugee camp, south of Hebron in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Israel's army said its troops were attacked during a counter-terrorism operation. U.S. military forces shot down more than a dozen attack drones and several missiles fired by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels at shipping in the Red Sea. That is according to the Pentagon. The Houthis earlier said they carried out a targeting operation against a commercial ship they identified as MSC United and launched a number of drones against military targets in southern Israel. Now, remember VinFast, the Vietnamese electric vehicle maker that set Wall Street ablaze with its meteoric rise and then just as quickly burnt out? Well, another Vietnamese tech giant is gearing up to take the NASDAQ stage. VNG. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
Founded in 2004, VNG has stretched its tentacles into a number of things. It operates a wide range of services, including music streaming, mobile payment, online games, and messaging. Its Zalo messaging platform is one of the most popular in the country, with 75 million monthly active users. The company filed for an IPO last August, shortly after Vietnamese electric vehicle maker VinFast made its debut on the New York markets. Venture capitalist Bin Tran says going public will benefit all Vietnamese tech companies.
I think being able to showcase that a Vietnamese tech company can be on the global stage is going to increase confidence. I think there's going to be a resurgence or inspiration that a U.S. IPO will provide local startups.
However, timing is everything, and Tran says there could be a danger in moving too quickly. He says not being able to get a positive return could spell something very negative.
An overall collective negative perception of Vietnam could be detrimental to the entire industry. So there's a lot riding on VNG's IPO.
But if things work out, the benefits could be immense. Finance professor Huy Pham says when VinFast went public on NASDAQ, it created quite a stir in the financial world.
When VinFast make a debut, they really attract the attention of international investors.
When it finally goes public, VNG plans to sell nearly 22 million shares in the IPO. The proposed price range has not yet been set. The company plans to expand into Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Tam Luang, the notorious cave in northern Thailand, where a thrilling rescue mission saved 12 boys and their coach, has been partially reopened to the public. Crystal Mapa takes us back to the scene of the 2018 drama.
5 years have passed since the Tam Luang cave in northern Thailand became a symbol of human resilience and international cooperation. The cave, once a chilling tomb for 12 young footballers and their coach, now whispers a different story. It's cautiously reopening its mouth, inviting tourists to glimpse the depths where hope defied the odds. Josh Morris, the former coordinator of the Operations International Rescue Team, remembers the terror and triumph like yesterday. he recalls the suffocating darkness, the desperate breaths, and the relentless monsoon rain that conspired to keep the boys captive.
ได้มีโอกาสที่จะเห็นกับตาเองว่ายังไงที่จะเอาเขาออกมาที่นี่ครับเราธงสามแค่800 เมตรจากปากถ้ำแต่ก็ใช้เวลาประมาณ1 ชั่วโมงที่จะเดินเข้าไปถึงถ้าไปกับกรุ๊ปแล้วก็จากธงสามนั้นมาที่ปากถ้ำเวลาที่เหตุการณ์เกิดขึ้นใช้เวลาประมาณชั่วโมงกว่าที่จะให้น้องออกมาและใช้ประมาณ 300-400 คนเพราะฉะนั้นมันจะเป็นอะไรที่น่าสนใจกับนักท่องเที่ยวนะครับ
But etched in his memory with equal force are the flickering flames of courage, the unwavering faith of families, and the audacious dive that brought them all home. Now a part of the cave, the less challenging section, is being prepared for a new kind of journey. Tourists will soon be able to walk through the cavernous halls, marveling the rock formations that once imprisoned lives, and feeling the damp air that whispered stories of fear and rescue. For Josh, this reopening is a bittersweet symphony, but he also acknowledges the delicate dance between reverence and spectacle. And so the Tham Luang Cave prepares to welcome a new generation of visitors. It beckons them not just with geological wonder, but with a profound human tale. It whispers of the fragility of life, the tenacity of hope, and the strength found in unity. As tourists walk through its echoing halls, they may not just marvel at the beauty of the cave, but also carry within them a silent tribute to the boys, their coach, and the heroes who refuse to let the darkness win. From Bangkok, Thailand, I am Crystal Mapa. We live in extraordinary times.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angela. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.